microphones and asking questions. And with that, start with Coach. Open it up for questions.
All right. Fire away.
Had a chance to look at the game film, Coach.
No.
He just told you that.
I didn't want to make you wait.
Yeah.
I had a chance a day and a half now with game film. Thoughts on the game afterwards and your overall performance?
Yeah. I think like you would think on offense, I mean, we put some good yards up. I think there's some numbers in there that show up. But still, some points left on the field and opportunities there. Grant, there's one particular play, he ran down the sideline. We still ended up scoring on it, but he was right there on the edge. And that's probably one that, I'd like to go back and had looked at, in that situation there, because it looked like he stuck the ball out. And so great effort by him. But there was a few drives in there that stalled. We've averaged 13 drives, the last 2 games. So you can kind of tell about how many we're going to get. And, there were some big plays made, but, you go back and you want to make those plays. You expect to make those plays. The thing I was happy with, besides, the overall finish of the game, the offense scoring points, the first drive we came out and scored, I was happy about that. That was a big thing for us. But we had challenged our guys, after contact or after catch to get yards. And that happened in the game. I don't have the total number, but wide receivers, running backs, after first contact or after catch were getting positive yards and getting extra yards on their own, which we needed to do. We didn't do it the last game. We kind of got what we got, what the play was blocked for. In this game, we got extra yards. We got rack yards, and guys were making plays. Some penalties, on the offensive side, not fired up on that. We'll address that, things that we can control. And we don't need to hurt ourselves. We're not good enough to go out there and hurt ourselves with penalties. We need to be efficient when we drive, and we need to make sure that we don't put ourselves in bad positions when we do have a good play and then hurt ourselves with a stupid penalty. On the defensive side, I mean, you can't ask more of what we did in the run game. That was exactly what the emphasis was, and we shut down 2 really good backs and a really good O-line, bottom line. Pass game, there's a lot in there that we've got to improve on. I mean, bottom line, it's, run game could be as good as it gets. Pass defense, much needs to be improved in those areas. And, bottom line is they had to throw the ball, and they threw the ball well, and we said their quarterback was good. We thought their wide receivers were good, and those guys made plays and made some run after catch as well in the game. So that improvement has got to come as we move forward, and that needs to, we need to be more complete and more consistent on the defensive side. But was very proud of what we emphasized. They got done. Now we re-emphasize. Now we have to improve in the pass game area as well, along with the run, and become more complete in those areas. Special teams, I thought we changed field position on special teams. I thought Sean kicked the ball better. And probably one of the better plays at the end of the game, they're coming after us. They're all go to block the punt. And we told them one step and get as high as you can. I think it was a 39-yarder, in that situation. So that was a big deal for us on special teams. The blocked extra point, that can't happen. That's one. We had some penetration there. And, on extra points, I mean, teams, you can go out there and get lazy. You get one blocked. And you know what? It might be the difference in the game. And so we'll address that. That won't happen again. We'll make sure that we get that handled. But overall, I like the team. The way our team played, I like how they came out, excited to play. I thought the energy of the crowd being back in the stadium made a big difference, and it showed up on game day.
First, any ill effects for Grant from the hit he took coming out of the game, and then any update on any of those guys that came out of the game?
Yeah, no, Grant, as far as I know, no. Grant's good. Grant was in today watching some film. Studying. He was studying. We had a practice last night. Guys did good. We had a short, about a 45-minute practice. And, we come right back. We run. We get after it. Young guys go out there and get work. Clashawn will miss this game. I don't know what his status will be following that, but we know he won't play in this game. And then we'll reevaluate him, throughout this week and see where he's at next week and go from there. Everybody else, from that standpoint that we haven't talked about, we anticipate playing in the game. and he's the one that we know will not be in the game this week.
So that includes Reese and
Reese will know about later in the week. Reese came out, and we got to kind of see where he's going to be at throughout the week. He's in a position now where it's a little bit more feel, and kind of how he recovers. And I can't answer that right now. We'll know by probably Wednesday. We'd like to have our guys out there on Wednesday doing something, definitely by Thursday. And so we've got to get him today and Tuesday. I don't anticipate him practicing on Tuesday, but if he can go a little bit on Wednesday and if we can get him rolling a little bit on Thursday, we'll see.
Any thought of moving Chaz back to defensive back with all those injuries?
Yeah, that's a thought that we've had because, he obviously played the position. And so we've had that conversation, probably something that we'll utilize this week in practice to do that. I mean, it'd be like high school for Chaz. He played both ways, play wide receiver, play DB. But we're going to have to do some things. And we've already talked about moving some guys around that are already out there playing because of the situation that we're in. But Chaz, we'll utilize him back there. He'll get some reps this week, and then, we kind of see where it goes from there. But we do need some depth, and really, you need it more in practice. Guys, you gotta spell some guys out there. You can't just keep taking one guy from one position to the next and corner and then back and forth and keep him out there for 24 straight reps. You got to get somebody in there to kind of spell him a little bit. So Chaz will do that some this week. Chaz will still play offense. It's not going to be an exclusive move one way or another, but we will see him over there, this week in practice.
Staying in that defensive backfield, does your depth at safety kind of allow you to move guys around? And can Darian Thompson, we saw him play a series at corner, can he handle that position as well?
Yeah, no doubt Darian can handle it. You like to keep him at safety. That's where he's most effective, obviously, for us. But, yes, if we have to do that, we can play him at corner. Chancellor played, in this game. DSG played in the game. So we got some safeties back there that we can do some things with. So, yeah, DT's the next guy to go up there and play corner, if we get into that position. We don't know if we're going to be in that position yet. But we're kind of, we got all his plans. We got plan A through plan D, basically, and that's what we have to do until, Clishawn gets back. We get some guys healthy, and, we kind of get back to full strength.
With Dante, I know they said on the ESPN broadcast, I guess you were wanting to get him in the game at some point. What was kind of his status, and did he take his pads off and then go put them back on during the game or something?
I don't know where ESPN got that because I did not want to get him in the game. And, yes, he went straight Superman on us from street clothes into pads in about 5 seconds. I don't know how he did it. I turned around, and he's kind of high-kneeing it, and I'm going, what are you doing? And in his mind, he's ready to go play. We didn't need to do that. This week, he feels good. He repped last night. He's got today to recover and rest a little bit, so I anticipate him being in practice on Tuesday, ready to rock and roll. But in the game, that was not, I think in his mind, he saw what was happening, and, as a player, I mean, he's smart. Hey, we're down to not a whole lot of guys out there, and I may have to go in and finish this game out, but we didn't talk about putting him in. He was just ready to go.
Yeah, how concerned are you with fourth quarter performance, particularly on the defensive side of the ball? I think in 2 games now, you guys have given up close to 400 yards alone passing in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it, and that's something, I think Colorado State had 31 plays going into the first half, and then they had 30 plays in the fourth quarter alone. So, that's too many. And I'll say this, that's a whole team now. I mean, you got a chance, you're up. You got to be able to sustain some more drives on offense and help the defense out. And at the same time, in that situation, we got to be able to get off the field. They kept them on the field. They made them work for it, for the most part. But that's too many plays and that's too many yards. And we got to improve in the fourth quarter. The Ole Miss game did not help us because they came out and they kind of got on fire on the fourth quarter. And so that's obviously going to be a theme because the first game showed it. Hey, how are we doing in the fourth quarter? And until we go out there and do something good, all right, shut them down, sustain drives on offense, that's part of what we just have to deal with right now until we prove otherwise. And fourth quarter will be something we continue to emphasize. It's something that we talked about again yesterday with the team. It'll be something we talk about this week, and that goes for everybody. You know, finishing a game. I told the guys at halftime, there's no such thing as a great half of football. I mean, it's a whole entire game. So we can sit there and pat ourselves on the back. We got to go finish. And we watched a lot of games that day, and you saw a lot of teams come out in that second half and make a difference. And so, you know, we wanted to come out a little poised but paranoid and understand that we got to play better, and fourth quarter is no different. We have to finish the game regardless.
Coach, just want to see if you had any general thoughts on UConn so far, and I guess also too, that their offense, that receiver, Davis, sure seems to pop out.
Yeah, Jeremy Davis. First of all, talk about their offense. Pro style, you know, more of a pro style offense. They're going to run power and lead. They'll run play action. So you're going to see some NFL style offense in there, which, you know, we saw a little more traditional, you know, downhill run game this last game against Colorado State. So similar to that, maybe a little bit more power than what we saw, but same thing. We have to stop the run, and we have to stop the explosive pass off it, because you can run the ball, you get those safeties involved, then the play action comes from there. So a little bit different, maybe more similar, but a little bit different than what we saw last week, and definitely from what we saw from Ole Miss. Jeremy Davis, big wide receiver. He can stretch the field, makes plays. He's averaging 100-plus yards, you know, receiving per game. So they got a guy. I mean, he can roll. You know, defensively, you know, they're a 3-4 defense. Good up front seven solid. You know, it shows, and they got a couple guys in there. 90, Julian Campini. You know, that he's a big old plugger, and he can take up two guys in a hurry, and it's hard to move him. Reuben Jack, you know, physical guy, long guy, plays outside linebacker. He's got a lot of range. Looks really good to me on tape. And then the other guy, their nickel, Graham Stewart, he's a Florida transfer. And he's a guy that you know, some of our staff knows about. He's very athletic. I don't know what his stats might say and all that, but that guy's all over, and he's around the football quite a bit. So both sides, you know, we're traveling there. They've got good players. They got good team speed from what I've seen on film, and they got the ability, they get rolling to run the ball and take shots. And then on defense, they got enough speed out there. We want to run sideways. You know, they can track you down. So we're going to have to attack them and do a little bit like we did against Colorado State.
Seen in the past that, you know, silly things like let's have a halftime in the middle of practice to try to deal with not playing well in the second. You
Right.
got anything like that up your sleeve for fourth quarter? Anything you can do to try to trick them into thinking that way in practice?
Yeah, you know, we actually do that. We have kind of the halftime adjustments in practice already built in. Yeah, and I've thought about a few things. I mean, I've done different things, you know, for fourth quarter to emphasize it. Bottom line is we just got to keep. I mean, we've emphasized it. How we go out and practice, you know, we've done that in practice. Hey, it's fourth quarter practice here. We actually talked about it last week because we had the same thing. It's just a matter of, you know, guys going out there and finishing, bottom line. And I don't think they're not trying to finish. I don't think they're not trying to play the fourth quarter. I don't think we're going out there and just, you know, looking at our watch and saying it's 11:55. I want to go home. I don't believe that. But what we've seen is the teams we've played have gotten stronger. They've played better in the fourth quarters. And so to me, you know, that mentality throughout the week is towards the end of practice, how we finish. You know, how did our practice finish? Did we finish strong on the defense or offensive side of the ball against the scouts or each other, whatever it is? And that's got to become more mental than talking about it or putting a period in just to emphasize it. But that's what we need to do. And, you know, we'll keep finding ways to try to emphasize that in our meetings, but it's got to show up before we know we got it right.
We talk about, you know, finishing in the fourth quarter. Is it important to do, because it also, you know, if you maybe allow a less touchdown to Colorado State, you talk about touches and playing time and all that stuff, does it allow you maybe, you know, potentially rest the guy a little bit earlier in a game and get, you know, a backup or backups in there?
Yeah, that's a fine line, you know, of when you give some guys opportunities to play, because you want them to play. And those guys that are the backup guys, they deserve to play. They've worked hard. And we feel good about those guys going in. You know, at the same time, you know, it got a little bit tighter towards the end there, and things have changed, and they're very quickly could be up on us, if we don't go out there and play our very best. So, yeah, in a perfect world, you'd love to go out there and roll in the first half, second half, come out in the third quarter, drive down, score again. They're not scoring. You give guys a chance to go out there and play, and then you go out and just play your game at that point. But we're not in a position to do that. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, the teams we play, I don't know if we'll be in that position. Guys, we're playing very good teams. They're competitive. When we play them, we get their very best. We got to give our very best, and that's just how it is.
Coach, UConn used 2 quarterbacks, used one guy, Cochran in the first game, Whitmer in the second game. Were there differences? Each one would bring something to the game?
Yeah, the way they throw a little bit. The offense runs better. I think when the first guy's in, and anticipate him playing this week. I haven't heard anything different. I would anticipate him being out there. And I think you're talking about 2 different opponents too. Stony Brook and BYU, 2 different teams as well. So, who knows? And again, I'll like I said before, I mean, we're going to our 3rd game. We're still kind of in the unexpected at this point. I think still teams are looking at themselves and going, okay, we're not going that direction. We're going to go back to this or whatever. So we just have to be prepared. We think this is what they're going to do. They may come out and spread it out and try to do some different things. So we'll make sure that we keep our minds open to that and what we've seen and look at the film in the last 2 games of, what they're watching. And then we got to make sure that we're covering what we think they're seeing.
Coach, I guess you guys are going Thursday to the Dante early
Yep.
than usual. Second time you've had to do that because of these long trips. Just what kind of challenge is that operationally to have the day, less here and extra day there, and then waking up and having to play at 10 a.m. Mountain Time compared to waiting around until 8:15?
Yeah, game day will be different. That's one thing. We're not going to do anything crazy like practice that early. We will that one particular day on Thursday. We actually get up and, I think we wake up on game day at 7:45. And so we actually have meetings that morning, I think at 7. So we'll be up and at 'em, close to what we would be at game time, kind of getting ready for pregame meal. As far as leaving early, it's not a challenge when it comes to our preparation. It's a little bit tighter on Wednesday night for the coaches because you usually have that morning to get practice prepped and all that. So we got to get ahead of schedule. It's hard on school, to be honest with you. You miss that Thursday, Friday, and it is what it is. But we talk to these guys on Sunday about today. Prep yourself through the week. Get all your stuff you're going to miss on Thursday and Friday. We got a long plane ride. I mean, you need to be doing your work on the plane during that time. So they get caught back up, come Monday, because you take that many days off of school and you got a weekend as well. You're tired after a game, long trip home, time to get it done, on the plane. So we did it, and we actually felt like the way we did it, in Ole Miss, we liked it. I thought our guys were fresh, fast when we did it. So if we go out there and play with that same, type of effort and speed, and we eliminate the mistakes we had in that game, we'll be in good shape.
A couple of line questions. One, assess the play of Eli McCullough at left tackle when you had to come in for Reese. And then on the D-line, how much of Garrett Grayson's success in the 4th quarter was because of the time he had?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Eli, I thought Eli did a good job. Reese was really playing well. Reese was on a roll in that game, and his one-on-one battles, he was winning those pretty good. And Eli came in. Eli's played a little bit because we used him in some different positions. So he came in. He was already into the flow of the game. Did a good job. There wasn't anything really glaring about what he did or didn't do in the game. He just played. And we think this. We've said to Eli, we think Eli's, very talented, and, he's a young guy still getting better. And so that experience, is only going to make him a better player for us. And I know he came out of it. He felt good about it, got the win, got to participate, be a part of it, be a significant contributor in the game. And so, if that's the case this week, then Eli will be ready to roll, and we'll have him prepared and ready. As far as the D-line, yeah, I mean, we want more pressure, and, we're trying to do some things up front there, and it's all those guys. But, yeah, we got after the quarterback at times. You want it to be consistent. And, Grayson did a good job. Now, he moved in the pocket. It wasn't like he was just setting his feet, throwing on every single pass. He did on a few of them, but he moved, slid, found some guys down the field. He hit us twice in the middle of the field on the scramble, You know, where normally you tell your guy not to throw back across the field, he did it, and he found those guys, and so those turned into big plays. But we got to contain the quarterback better. You know, get after him, but contain him better. And then when guys scramble, you know, that's something we need to work down the field. There's going to be scrambles in games. It happens, and we got to do a better job on defense of covering our guys and just playing the entire play until it's over.
You said the first 3 weeks are kind of teams trying to find themselves. How much of your time spent preparing for a game are you preparing for your opponent, a non-conference opponent like UConn, and how much are you spending time trying to really hone what your team is?
Yeah. I think our coaches spend the time really preparing for the opponent. You know, I spend a lot of time just watching us. You know, I like to watch, you know, our offense, watch our defense, and probably look at it a little bit maybe from an opponent perspective. You know, what are we doing? What did we do that was effective, you know, that they're going to be looking at? What happened to us? And so, you know, I try to walk out of there with some ideas for both sides and just say, hey, you know, I would do this if I was an offensive player or an offensive coach, and, you know, look at the offense and say, hey, there's a couple things here and there we got to change, tweak, mix it up a little bit, and just try to provide different ideas, you know, as those guys go through, and just make them think about different things, how we're protecting ourselves. And I think that formula works. I mean, I like to watch our guys because I also want to be able to grab a guy and say, hey, you did a heck of a job on this play. You know, Kamale did a great job had a big hit in the game. So, you know, those type of things.
Shane didn't give him any touches. Was that situational? Is he okay?
Shane's fine. Yeah, I think probably more situation than anything. We had some things in there to get him the ball. Obviously, Shane's, you know, a guy that draws a lot of attention. So it wasn't anything that we were not trying to do with him. I think it was just the way they played him. And then obviously it opened up Matt, opened up Jay, and some other guys in the receiving department that helped us out.
What do you think of the tempo you guys played with in that game? Early on against Ole Miss, it seemed like it was more of that shift in motion package, but you guys seem to have good tempo and just kind of attack early against Colorado State.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, you know, it's just a mix. I mean, we'll be different every week. You know, that's the one thing. I think that's it. Kind of whatever the theme for the week is. Do we want to move? You know, and it depends on what we think we can do. And we came out. We had a little bit of tempo early on and rolled right down the field and executed well. You know, we got to be able to do that too. And then there was enough little funk in there and movement and things like that, you know, it wasn't like we were just staying in spread and all the way down. We had a good variety, I thought. So I thought Mike put together a good opening drive, and that's really what you want to do. I mean, that's when you get the ball, all right, those plays are scripted. They're scripted for a reason, so you can go out there and execute it, and hopefully it's your best stuff for that week that you practiced. And our guys executed that way. And, you know, the end of it, then you get something like Jay, you know, we're running power. He just bounces it. He bounces all the way outside and sees something that, you know, you don't anticipate and seeing, but that's why he's the back he is. I mean, he sees things out there that plays designed to hit here, you hit there. It makes it kind of a hard guy to gauge when you're watching him. Like, he could go anywhere on the field, so everybody's got to be ready, and they weren't in that particular play.
You mentioned the penalties. I think there was a sideline interference or sideline infraction penalty at some point, and it seemed like later in the game, you guys were really trying to push guys back. What kind of happened there?
Yeah, I don't know exactly, but one of our coaches got ran into, or the referee ran into one of our coaches. And bottom line is, you know, that's an emphasis that they're making. And we haven't had any warnings, but you know, one of our guys stepped out there, and if you run into a guy, he's going to throw the flag. I mean, it's simple as that. They're trying to protect themselves, and so we just got to get back. It was a mistake, and we'll get that corrected.
A couple of head coaching decisions you've got to make every week. One, take the ball or kick it. You've gone both ways so far, so what you're thinking there a little bit. And then we haven't seen a whole lot of fourth down situations, but what's generally your approach to that situation?
Yeah, I usually flip a coin before the game to decide what we're going to do too. So let's do it like that. You know, we wanted to take the ball in the first game, you know, because you spend a lot of time running the same things over and over, you know, throughout fall camp, and thought we could put together a drive, you know, so we'll get the ball in our hands and go score. And you'd like to score first. I mean, that's the one thing you want to do. This game we deferred, and, you know, I think it was kind of the way the week had went. Defense had a good week of practice. You know, we wanted to go out there and talk about stopping the run, but get out there and actually do it. So we want to put the defense on the field. So kind of game situational, really. I mean, is how we're going to decide that. As far as fourth downs go, yeah, we can get them. I mean, I think it's if we feel like we have something that we feel really good about, we can get. Then we want to get them. And you go back to that. We're inside the 1 yard line, and we had snuck it 3 times prior to that and got it. We didn't get it. And it's hard to tell. The view we have in our film, it looks like he's in there, but they've obviously reviewed it, and I don't know what they saw, but they saw it differently, period. And that's how it is. But I would expect that we can get in within a yard, bottom line. So probably strategically and all that, you go up, by putting points on there. And at the same time, you believe in your players to go out there and be able to get that done. And we'll do it again. We just got to be better at it. That's really what it comes down to. There's a little bit of execution in that would have made a difference, but it still comes down to they know what you're doing, you know what you're doing, and it's just a matter of moving it and getting it done. And where we do it, it all depends on the game. We have opportunities to do it, and it's a matter of whether we want to gamble and how much we want to gamble.
When it comes to J.J., how much have you learned from his ability over these first 2 games? And you look at one of his runs near the end of the game, he broke a 36-yarder. You couldn't really tell based off effort, agility, stamina, whether it was one of his first runs or whether it was, if it was the 27th run of the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's, as far as Jay and his consistency when he plays, I mean, in the 2 games, he's been about as consistent from play 1 to the last play. What I've seen from Jay, I've seen a tough guy because he's taken, he takes some good hits. He's delivered some hits too. I mean, he plays hard. When he plays hard, he plays fast, he plays physical. And I think the one thing that I didn't know about Jay is how good he's been in the pass game. He's really been a legitimate option, where backs are, last resort, check downs, things like that. I mean, we swung him a swing out there, and he caught it and ran for a touchdown. And so he's been a guy that's done a great job in the pass game along with running the ball. And to me, when you look at it, I mean, what's he going to do? You can't really tell where he's going to be in his alignment, if he's going to be running the pass or he's going to be running the ball. And he's able to do both well, and he's able to do that in space. It's pretty good.
To go back to Dante and pulling a Superman on you, first of all, what was your reaction to that? Initially, did you laugh? And then second of all, Dante, J.J. wants to carry the ball 40, 50 times.
Right.
It seems like you have a team full of guys that will sacrifice anything. That's got to make a coach feel good about it.
Yeah. No, so back to Dante. No, I didn't laugh. I just kind of looked at him, and he looked at me, and I'm just going, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yep, I'm ready to go." So I laugh about it now because it's one of those you're in the moment, and it's not really that funny at the time because of the situation. Afterwards, it's pretty hilarious, to be honest with you. Jay, yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to ask Jay. I would expect if you said, Jay, would you like to carry the ball less and touch it less, he'd probably say no. I think that's anybody that has the ability to touch the ball. You ask Matt Miller if they could throw it to you 100 times, yes, I would like that. Shane, so on and so forth. And it's our job to try to find ways to create those matchups. At the same time, understand that those guys are some of our better players. They're going to figure it out. Other guys have to step up, but at the same time, they keep creating opportunities for themselves. And they're right now, I mean, they're clicking pretty good, and they did this last game. And I'll talk the last game in particular, and we'll see where we go from here.
How much does Grant's ability to run help loosen things up a little bit? It seemed like he was giving him a lot of problems